Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me, and I would appreciate anyone who subscribes. I have so many great tips that I want to share with you. I made this beautiful glow in the dark snowflake coaster. It would make a great ornament too. I was just doodling, but I loved the way this turned out. And I'm introducing this dichroic film in my shop as one of my new items that you can purchase. I want to make it really accessible for people to make incredibly great pieces of art with resin. And I'm testing all kinds of things to find items that I can offer that give you the opportunity to make really easy, fast pieces that your family oohs and ahs over. Because I remember when I started resin, I was really amazed at how beautiful the pieces are that you can make, and I really want to spread that joy. So, I'm cutting down my dichroic piece to the right size to fit inside of this beautiful mold. The mold is from Shop Resin Molds. It's a geode edged coaster mold. So when you embed it, you want to make sure that you kind of do it on a curve where you put the first piece in flatly, but then you lay it down to try and minimize air bubbles. You want to lay it down to where it keeps meeting the surface of the resin. I already had a little bit of resin, just enough resin to cover the bottom base of the mold when I started. And now I'm just pushing it down to make sure there's absolutely no air bubbles underneath it. You want to make sure that you only have just enough resin in the bottom to embed this piece. If you have more, it might overflow, and that wouldn't be a big deal. It would just be a pain to clean. So I like to just have enough to cover the bottom and to make sure that it's already degassed and you don't have any bubbles in it or anything like that, because any bubbles that are in the resin will get trapped underneath the film. So I've got my film embedded, and I need just a little bit more resin on top. And I'm adding my glow-in-the-dark paint. I'll list all of these items in the description below. I had never used this product with resin before, so this was a test. Obviously, I have used that cup with resin before. I'd say maybe 1,000 times. I don't know. I like to use things over and over and over again if I can, and if I don't think that it's going to spoil the effect of whatever I'm doing, if it's not really a pristine thing. And this, since it was going to be a cloudy, milky white, was what I was going for. What I wanted the coaster to look like was when you see something in a cartoon or a movie where somebody touches something and it freezes over, like a superhero effect. Well, I wanted it to look like it was freezing from the outside to the inside, but I still wanted you to really be able to see the dichroic film underneath. And the snowflake impression on the dichroic film is so beautiful. I love texture on this dichroic film, and I have a bunch of different designs, but I thought this would be perfect for the season. So I mix. Make sure that my paint is very well mixed into my resin using my trusty cut off sour cream container, because I really like how bendable the top is, so it's really easy to pour out the tiniest amount of resin or to pour out a lot at once if you want to. And those are super easy to clean as well. Once they cure up, you just go around and squish it to get the resin to loosen up, and then it pulls right out. It is so easy, but you have to make sure and cut off the top, or that doesn't work that way. If y'all are interested in that and in that particular how I use that cup, say something in the comments and I'll make a video on that particular why I use that cup and how it works and how I cut off the edge and how I clean it. So I'm adding the paint directly to the resin. and then mixing it in. I wanted to make sure that it was really well incorporated. In this process, you can do very little mixing and have beautiful striations in it, like a marble effect, but that wasn't what I wanted for this process. I wanted it to be a cloudy, milky, frozen feeling. Then I saw that I might have had a few bubbles on top, and I wanted to make sure that it was really pristine before I went forward. So I used my tiny torch that has a really, really short fire on it, because it's very important that you don't over torch anything in a silicone mold or it will fuse to the mold. And then I really slowly and carefully poured right up as close to the edge as I could get. I wanted to make sure and not get too much overspill, but I really wanted it to be very close to the edge. Now, it's important to note that this resin had not been sitting for very long. I poured it right after I mixed it. Sometimes people do the really cool flower effect and a bloom by giving it time. I didn't want it to do that. I wanted it to do what you see here, where it really just stayed put. So I did it very, very slowly, so it would basically not make waves. And now I'm adding in these beautiful iridescent glitter flakes, snowflakes. They're really big for glitter, but they're just amazing. I guess maybe you'd call them confetti, but I absolutely love these. The iridescent effect on it is so beautiful. So it's an iridescent effect on an iridescent effect, with the paint being glow-in-the-dark paint. Words are hard. I'm having trouble finding them sometimes today. So I wanted to make sure that those were pushed down enough that there wasn't any air pockets or anything underneath them. And I was kind of playing with the placement as I was doing it, but I didn't want to move it around too much because I didn't want to agitate the effect that was happening on the top. And then I decided I wanted it just ever so slightly pulled in to give the swirling wind, swirling ice effect. And you'll see at the end, it just turned out so great. It really did pull in that effect beautifully. So I love how you can see the dichroic film and the iridescent, and everything basically has its own space. This turned out really pretty. It was mostly just an experiment to try my dichroic film, but I love this coaster and ended up making an entire set of them to put up in my Etsy. I'm also selling the dichroic film, the snowflake design, and a wide variety of other designs of dichroic film in sheets that are exactly the right size to put into coasters or even larger pieces. I really am happy with how this turned out, and I love my new dichroic film. I hope you do too.